What made you switch from Trump to Nikki Haley?
The man is a lunatic, and I think he's terrible for the country.
And that is just a representation of a broader issue for Donald Trump's campaign that we're going to get into in this segment. In a previous segment, I talked a little bit about this within the context of a different moment and said that it represented a little bit of optimism for the November election. And I have another dose of optimism for you today. So yesterday was a couple more Republican primaries. And in them, of course, Trump's going to win because he's the only person in it. But we learned more about the devastating situation that's playing out for Trump within his party. First, here is the Lincoln Project writing, tonight in Florida's closed Republican primary, 200,000 Republicans have voted against Trump so far. Biden, by contrast, consistently receives over 90% of the vote, no matter which ballot he's on. The American people are tired of Trump's grifting, indecency, and criminality. And you can see here that as of when this screenshot was grabbed, as they noted, 200,000 Republicans had voted by that point in time against Donald Trump in a race where Trump is the only viable option because he's the only one still in the race. But they essentially did a protest vote against him. And then you have this even more devastating. NBC News exit poll, Kyle Griffin notes, Ohio Republican primary voters, 11% said they'd vote for Biden, Joe Biden, of Scranton fame, in November. Another 8% say they will not vote for either candidate in November of Republican primary voters in Ohio. That is just so horrible for Trump and so amazing. And we already watched this clip in a past segment, but you had a Fox News saying this as well.
Nikki Haley won 2.9 million votes in the primaries so far. If those and our Fox News voter analysis shows that somewhere between 5 and 10 and 6 and 10 of those Nikki Haley voters say they won't vote for Trump in November. If even a fraction of those voters deliver on that promise and stay home or vote third party or just split their votes or something, Trump loses.
Indeed. And we're just not seeing the same level of disarray and division in the Democratic Party. Then let's just, for the heck of it, or the sake of it, play a couple more examples of Republicans explaining why they're not going to vote for Trump.
I didn't want to vote for Trump, so I just voted against him, basically.
So you voted in a Republican primary?
Yeah.
So who did you vote for?
Nikki Haley.
Even though she's out of the race?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I didn't want to give my vote to Trump. I didn't want to.
And if he doesn't want to give the vote to Trump, is he a part of that percentage that says we would vote for Biden? Now, in a lot of the past exit polls that we've seen, all we know is they say, I don't want to vote for Trump in a general election. And even that, even if it's not voting for Biden, even just not voting for Trump, sitting out or doing third party, could absolutely swing the election. If it's as big of a percentage as we're seeing in these polls, which it won't be. Normally, that crazy sort of figure, no way that can play out in an election when it actually comes time to vote. But if it even got close, that would be the end for Trump's re-election or his election shot. And then especially when now we have a number on how many are saying they would affirmatively vote for Joe Biden, that could be doom for Donald Trump. Here's another example.
I know who I'm not going to vote for.
Who are you?
I will not vote for Donald Trump. I can't associate myself with the Republican Party under Donald Trump. I agree wholeheartedly. The Trump we're seeing now is a completely different Trump than Trump of 2016 and even 2020. He's running a campaign strictly for revenge. I think he poses a clear threat to our democracy, our institutions. I know.
Yes, and you all know that I find it just so dang important for people to have as one of the core reasons they're opposing Donald Trump, the threat he poses to our democracy. Sometimes I'll hear people explain their opposition to him, and it seems like good that they're opposed to him. Great, that's what I want. But the reasoning doesn't seem to be grasping the magnitude of the danger that he poses. Yes, he's a jerk, but he's a really dangerous anti-democratic one. So it's strange when just the jerk part's focused on. But if you vote against him, you vote against him. And then you have this.
You had voted for Trump in the past, though.
Yes.
What was it that turned you away?
2016 Trump, 2020 Trump, 2024 Trump are very different people.
What's different about 2024 Trump?
A lot of people that have worked for him in the past say they won't come back. Obviously, January 6th happened. A lot of indictments have happened. And to be honest with you, I don't know that he wants my vote.
Sorry.
Or those of us that supported Nikki Haley has been pretty clear.
That was a turnoff to you when he said that.
You know, I believe that the Republican Party should be a big tent. I think when we compromise, we get to the best solutions. So yeah, when you want to be an exclusive club, that's a problem.
It's so weird, isn't it? That telling people if you're a Nikki Haley or John McCain Republican, you're not welcome in the Republican Party, or a Mitt Romney Republican, you're not welcome in the Republican Party. Telling people that isn't the best strategy politically. So weird. Now, I do think it's important to say, yes, I don't understand why people are pretending like 2020 Trump was so rational, or 2016, but now he's gone off the rails. But you also have to celebrate whenever someone does move themselves to the correct position. I think we can hold both thoughts in our mind simultaneously. Then here is our favorite over on Fox liberal host Jessica Tarlov explaining this bad news for Trump as well.
So in February, the Biden campaign raised $53 million, which is the biggest fundraising haul that we've seen. The Trump campaign said they also had the biggest month ever, but refused to tell you how much that is. And the real problem is the small dollar donors, the people that you say love Donald Trump, they're not giving. He's down 63% from where he was at this point in 2019. You cannot win elections without people giving to your campaign, without caring about your campaign. And so they can stand out there and you can wear a Blacks for Trump t-shirt or a mugshot t-shirt. But at the end of the day, that's not
Would you rather have more money?
Yeah, that's just good news. It's good news that the Biden campaign is blowing the socks off of the fundraising game. And while money doesn't win a campaign by itself, in our current political system, unfortunately, it does help a lot to get your message out. And we have seen the way that fundraising impacts the results of elections, just, again, based on one's ability to get their message out through all the different mediums that gets done that you need money for. And it also can serve as a sign of excitement around your campaign. We saw February being this bombshell, bonkers, stunning, ridiculous, other terms, a fundraising month for the Biden campaign. 56, I think it was, or $53 million, as she just said. And somehow I forgot the number very quickly. I think it was 53. And that's so much, but also comes within the context of them already having a lot of money in the bank. So it's not just replenishing what they keep spending out the wazoo. And that came after the State of the Union address, the official projection that Biden was the nominee. So there's an increase of excitement around his campaign. And we're also seeing, as we talked about in a past segment, a polling shift. It's not gargantuous, but definitely, as I sort of predicted, after the State of the Union, after it becomes clear that it's actually Trump versus Biden, because for some reason a bunch of America didn't think that. If you talk to people, and polling showed that people in large part weren't expecting this to be the matchup again. They thought some crazy other candidate was going to jump in and it was all going to get shaken up, or one of the other candidates who was already in would become the nominee. It just didn't happen. Again, not to toot my own horn because I'm a part of a very large crowd shouting this, but it's always been the most likely that this was going to be the rematch. And now that that's becoming clear, we're seeing a little bit of a shift in the polls. The most recent ones that we looked at showing Biden slightly up. And that is after a pretty long streak of very often being behind in polls. So if that momentum continues, if the fundraising continues, and if a chunk of Republican voters say, we're not voting for that buffoon, and as the first woman called him, lunatic, then that could be a wonderful result. And I just have to include in all of these discussions, I do think optimism is important, and we have to make sure that we understand just how possible the end goal of Trump being defeated, MAGA becoming politically relevant, and Biden being able to oversee more achievements and more steps forward, how possible that goal is. And so that serves as a motivator for me. It's not ever to say that this optimistic discussion means we work less hard to make that happen, because it's going to happen. It's not definitely going to happen. Polls are still within the margin of error, and crazy things seem far too common in this country. And so let's make sure we work just as hard, but can have the excitement and energy to do so of it being very, very possible, clearly based on this information. You also have reporting here from CNBC. Inside the Biden effort to recruit Nikki Haley donors to help defeat Donald Trump. And essentially, for the sake of time, I'll summarize. Donors who previously were supporting Nikki Haley because they're so sick of Trump are being reached out to, and some of them are getting on board with a plan to support Joe Biden instead. That's good news. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, click the alert bell, the like button, and drop a comment.